Greetings one and all, my name is Alaenura and I am here today on the eve of the new moon on the 30th of January 2014 and also the beginning of the year of Chinese Year of the Horse. I want to thank you all first of all for being here, for contracting to be here at this time on the planet, and for those of us who are still here, I congratulate you and I celebrate your journey of arriving to this particular point in time. We are survivors and we're here journeying through space and time to move through the shift, the turning of the ages. And prior to the end of 2012, there were a lot of us that were looking at significant earth changes and a variety of other external forces that would take place. But what we are all beginning to realize is that the place where everything begins and ends is within ourselves. So nothing happens externally unless it happens internally in terms of what we believe to be true. And the important thing is that we are really living in a paradigm now which is based so much on false truths. And the sacred act of the word, or to spell a word, has been desecrated. So the true meaning of a word and the evocation of the spoken word has been disintegrated and dissolved and made much smaller, to the point where a particular word will have a negative meaning to what is suggested as its actual meaning. So there is an alchemy here, and there is an inconsistency here within the alchemy of the truth of who we are and the spheres of energy in which we operate within. So it's really important to understand the words and how a spell is cast, and the fact that a spell has been cast upon humanity, excluded from this, because it happened way before the introduction of all these religions. And the spell is a form of sleep, hypnosis, enchantment, so we would not be aware of the truth of who we are and the truth of actually what is, and the importance of the very fundamental aspects of creation, and the fact that within us is the alchemist and all that is necessary to create the world. This is the basis of the secret, the book, The Secret, and any other New Age philosophies. And the secret is basically the truth of who we are. So what I really want to talk to you today is about duality and polarity. And the fact is that duality is actually a symptom of polarity. So we often talk about duality and the various symptoms that are coming up in terms of fear or light or anger, or all the various emotions that come up in that. But the truth of the matter is that duality is simply a symptom of this paradigm that we're living in, but it's not the paradigm. The paradigm that we're living in is actually the paradigm of oneness, and within that oneness there is polarity. Duality is a symptom of what happens when you're out of sync, and it's a version of events. It's not actually the full version of events. So, for example, we have light, we have shadow, okay? We have yin, we have yang, we have masculine, we have feminine, not necessarily in that order. Okay, so these are all polarities, and within that is the I, is the Isis, is the I am I presence, okay? The God presence. So we have all these polarities here. That is the dance, which is where the spiral within the Kundalini dances and moves beyond. And we know that to be good, and we know that to to allow us to experience what it's like to be human and to be alive. But it's this dualistic aspect that we really need to now really knock on the head and actually understand what it is, and how important it is with these polar aspects are completely sacred and completely the workings of the universe and of creation. And both aspects, positive and negative, are necessary for life. Okay? So the aspects of that we translate as duality are really areas that we need to honor. So we have light and we have shadow. If you only honor the light, then you're out of balance. If you only honor the shadow, then you're out of balance. To be in complete balance and in synergy, to be in the Tao and to be completely in the flow, we need to honor the shadow and the light on equal measure and embrace the gifts that come from the light and the gifts that come from the shadow. And the reason why I've been making a lot more reference to the shadow aspect is because as being part of the human condition, so many of us have been avoiding the shadow aspects of who we are. And in fact, it is these gifts that have been hidden within the shadow that we now need to bring into the light, so we can be full, complete beings, free and present. So we're not in hiding. So the shadow tends to hide certain aspects, and they tend to happen when we're young, and we begin to hide these things away, such as, oh, I'm really scared, or the world's a lonely place, or a scary place, or all these separation things. And that's probably mainly because we're not met and we're not told it's okay to be who we are completely. Particularly in a world that is based on duality, in terms of these are the structures, rigid structures in which you need to be in. And if you don't exist within those, then there's something wrong, and then we start hiding all these aspects of self. As we continue to hide these aspects within ourselves, they are held in the shadow aspect of our being. And the guardians that are there, the gatekeepers to the shadow, hold this space and know that these guardians are there by divine decree and divine law. It is our concept of the shadow and duality that make these beings wrong, and we see them as being phantoms or evil or negative. And these guardians are the gateway to the aspect of the shadow within ourselves, are here to be met, and we need to create a dialogue in request and in honor and actually in full awareness of their existence, and to know that they are part of us. Just like there are an army of light beings, there are also an army of shadow beings. Shadow without a value being attached to darkness or negativity or evil. That these beings are here holding the Tao, holding the balance, holding the polarities, and knowing that they exist within us and we are not just one polarity or the other. Fear in itself is an illusion. And I think by looking at polarity rather than duality, we actually realize that fear is this spell, this looking at one aspect of polarity as being wrong. This is how the seed of fear and illusion has been planted within our psyche. So it's very important to make a note of this, that any fearful expectation has come from our delusional or illusional awareness of actually what is. Everything is here by divine law and divine decree in this beautiful balance, just like breathing in or just like breathing out, just like the waves rising and undulating. This is all part of the flow of life, the currents of life. And our task now is in the process of moving out of duality into the center, into the one, into the embracing of the polarities, and knowing that polarity is here, the yin and yang, the light and the shadow is here to complete us, to know who we are in our fullness, and not just within ourselves but outside of ourselves. Duality is a term that has been really anchoring us in separation all this time. There are many people who've been working with the light and call themselves light workers, who are out of sync with the Tao and with the universal commandment of balance and non-duality. And the reason why that is because they're leaving the shadow unattended. The shadow aspect, which is part of the same. Without the shadow, without the darkness, the light cannot exist, and vice versa. And it's not a matter of one being better than the other or worse than the other. The idea of duality also is really important to look at the word itself, dual. And the word was used in medieval Britain and Europe to have a duel with someone, which is this fight, this pushing against one another, resisting, moving beyond the balance and actually moving into attack. So we need not be dueling with aspects of ourselves. This is suffering. This is the aspect of suffering, to duel and to continue within a state of duality within ourselves. This is really now the time to find balance and synergy and wholeness, to allow both to exist within the same space in their entirety, because we need both, because we are both. We are this yin yang, we are this masculine and feminine, we are this light and shadow. We are the same, all of us, and we are all versions of the same. And it's really imperative now that we knock that aspect on the head in terms of duality and the duel that happens within duality, and actually come home and make love to all these aspects of ourselves, particularly. And I'm focusing once again on the shadow, because these are the aspects that we tend to resist and we see them as wrong or uncomfortable. But they're only uncomfortable because we haven't embraced the essence of what they are, not the symptoms of what they bring. It's the symptoms that make us believe that they are uncomfortable, and they are uncomfortable and they are not good. But the essence of what they are is completely good. So this is the misconception, this is this amnesia, this is this hypnosis that we have been brought to believe about existence, and to believe that evil and darkness and shadow is a negative, creating this dual, this duality, this force of good and evil, which actually is not the case. This is huge. So here we are, really now embracing the shadow warriors, the shadow spirits, and all that it brings to create life, so life can exist in its fullness, right? There's so many aspects we don't really understand about physics: the black hole, the womb, the feminine, which was deemed to be something negative, evil. These things are all connected, my brothers and sisters, and the veil is truly being removed in the sense of the truth of what truly is. And as we uncover this truth and actually realize that the child, there are aspects of self both in the light and the shadow. And this is the shadow work that we're doing now. This is the shadow work that is occurring on the planet. So the illusion now needs to be stripped back, just like the untruths and the cover-up in governments and in the monetary systems. This is just echoing what's actually happening within each and every one of us. So the work that is required is the same work that needs to happen now within ourselves. We need to go and make peace and make love to the shadow aspects, bring the essence of what that is, to honor the guardians of the shadow, to speak the truth from the perspective of that in terms of what we have hidden. This is, and how this has caused us to forsake the truth of who we are and what it is we have come here to be and to bring within this oneness, this spectrum of oneness and wholeness. I leave this with you. I encourage you to make love, to know that all these areas are good, to know that all these areas are here to be respected equally. And particularly at this time, for so many of us have been pushed and prodded to really look at these aspects of self, the bits that are hidden, the bits that have been covered, the aspects have been covered by shame or by vanity. They teach us to be vain so we don't feel the shame. This is all part of the workings of the spell, of the hypnosis. Vanity, things, outward trappings, looking a particular way to make out that everything's rosy in the garden. So we are covering things up even further. So the forces now of, or the gatekeepers of the shadow are now coming forward, because as we move into this new paradigm, there is no room for imbalance. And this is why, for those of us who are ready or even not ready, we now have no choice but to do this work and to accept the truth of what is within us, so we can create the world, the new world. These are really magical times. I'm sat here and I have a picture of Ramana, and as I look at him, I see him smile. And I feel really blessed to be bringing this message to you, because it's been very difficult for me to come to this point and to really come to this point of acceptance in a real experiential way. And I'm honored to bring this information to you. Together we fly in formation. Remember who you are. Remember your wings. I love you. My name is Alaenura, and I see the God in you, all of you, the divine aspects of yourself, light and shadow, and this beautiful dance, the Tao, the flow. That is you. That is God. And that aspect that I know to be God and I know to be good. So I leave this with you. Namaste. My name is Alaenura. Until the next time, be well. Be in the flow, in acceptance. Allow without judgment. And so it is.